नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So continuing with the discussion with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Description of the Kingdom of God. Text number 27 onwards. Tasminatitya munya shad sasajamana kaksha saman vayasavat saptamayam devahu chakshad grihita gado parardhya keyur kundal kirita vitanka vesho. After passing through the 6 entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment at all the decorations, they saw at the 7th gate 2 shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, garments, etc. The sages were so eager to see the Lord within Vaikuntha Puri that they did not care to see the transcendental decorations of the 6 gates, which they passed by one after another. But at the 7th door, they found 2 doormen of the same age. The significance of the doormen being of the same age is that in Vaikuntha planets, there is no old age. So one cannot distinguish who is older than whom. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha are decorated like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, with Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, conch, wheel, club, and lotus. So these 4 sages, they were Kumar, like that's what they call 4 Kumaras, means they're 5-year-old, and they would not cover their body. The body was covered with the directions only, no clothes. And they were in the Vaikuntha planet. And they wanted to see the Lord. So apparently there are 7 gates. So 6 gates they crossed because they were so eager to see, they didn't even notice the decorations of the 6 gates. But the 7th gate, that was the last gate, when they reached, now they saw 2 doormen. There were doormen at the other gates also. They did not stop the sages. But these 2 doormen, they stopped them. And the sages were looking at the decorations and also marveling the beauty of these 2 doormen. Mattadvirefan malikya nivito vinayastaya chatushtiya bahu madhye vaktram bhuva kutilaya sfut nirgamabhyam raktekshanin cha managrabasam dadhano. The 2 doormen were garlanded with fresh flowers, which attracted intoxicated bees, and which were placed around their necks and between their 4 blue arms. From their arched eyebrows, discontented nostrils, and reddish eyes, they appeared somewhat agitated. Their garlands attracted swarms of bees because they were garlands of fresh flowers. In the Vaikuntha world, everything is fresh, new, and transcendental. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha have bodies of bluish color and 4 hands like Narayan. So they all looked just like Narayan, except few differences which we had discussed earlier. But these 2 doormen, they were in Vaikuntha, but somehow they appeared somewhat agitated, discontented nostrils and reddish eyes. So let's see what happened to them. Dvare yator nivivishurur mishtor prishtva purva yatha purata vajra kapatikayah sarvatra te avishmaya munya swadrishtya ye sancharantya vihata vigata bhishanka. The great sages headed by Shanak had opened doors everywhere. They had no idea of ours and theirs. With open minds, they entered the seventh door out of their own will, just as they had passed through the six other doors, which were made of gold and diamonds. So these four sages, they were just going through all the doors because Vaikuntha means no, no question of being ours and theirs, no question of being anybody being enemy over there. But they were stopped at the seventh door. The great sages, namely Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar, although very old in years, maintained themselves eternally as small children. They were not at all duplicitous, and they entered the doors exactly as little children enter places, without any idea of what is to trespass. That is a child's nature. A child can enter any place and no one checks him. Indeed, a child is generally welcome in his attempts to go places, but if it so happens that a child is checked from entering a door, he naturally becomes very sorry and angry. That is the nature of a child. In this case, the same thing happened. The childlike saintly personalities entered all the six doors of the palace, and no one checked them. Therefore, when they attempted to enter the seventh door and were forbidden by the doormen who checked them with their sticks, actually, they checked them with the clubs, they naturally became very angry and sorrowful. An ordinary child would cry, but because these were not ordinary children, they immediately made preparations to punish the doormen. For the doorman had committed a great offense. Even to this day, a saintly person is never checked from entering anyone's door in India. So these four Kumaras, they were like child. They were not children exactly, because they were the oldest person in the universe. But they remained as a child by the Tapoval. And like Prabhupada is saying, children can go anywhere in any place. There's no stopping them because they are not at all duplicitous, or there's no malice in their hearts. But because these four boys were stopped by Jay and Vijay, they got angry. And normally child would cry, but these children are not ordinary children. So they were ready to punish Jay and Vijay. तान् वीक्ष्य वातरश्नाश् चतुरः कुमारान् वृद्धान् दशार्धवयसो विदितात्मतत्त्ववान् वेत्रेण चास्खल्यताम् तदर्हणास्तो तेजो विहस्य भगवत प्रतिकूलशीलो. The four boy sages, who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere, looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures, and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories. All the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. The four sages were the firstborn sons of Brahma. Therefore, all of the living entities, including Lord Shiva, are born later and are therefore younger than the four Kumaras. Although they looked like 5-year-old boys and traveled naked, the Kumaras were older than all of the living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. Such saints were not to be forbidden to enter the kingdom of Vaikuntha, but by chance the doorman objected to their entrance. This was not befitting. The Lord is always anxious to serve sages like the Kumaras, but in spite of knowing this fact, the doorman astonishingly and outrageously prohibited them from entering. Actually, this is for Jay and Vijay, they are the doormen of the seventh gate of Vaikuntha, of the palace of the Lord. Means they were the doormen of the innermost chambers of the Lord. So they're like very close associates of the Lord, close servants of the Lord. so, so this incident cannot happen without the will of the Lord. So these two doormen, Jay and Vijay, they acted because first of all, once actually they had committed an offense against Lakshmi ji. The Lord was resting and Lakshmi ji entered, and these two doormen, they stopped Lakshmi ji. They said, Lord is resting, so he cannot go in. And Lakshmi ji cursed them that you two are becoming very proud of yourself. You will fall down very soon. So that and the Lord wanted, it was the Lord's will for some pastimes to happen. And he can only perform pastimes with his own personal close associates. So some pastimes had to take place. Anyway, let's see. Tabhyam mishatsvi nimesheshu nishiddhyamana swarhattama hiyapi hare pratihara pabhyam uchu suhrit madi drikshit bhanga isha kamanujain sahasatu upataksha. When the Kumaras, although by far the fittest persons, were thus forbidden entrance by the two chief doorkeepers of Sri Hari, while other divinities looked on, their eyes suddenly turned red because of anger, due to the great eagerness to see their most beloved master, Sri Hari, the personality of Godhead. According to the Vedic system, a sannyasi, a person in the renounced order of life, is dressed in saffron-colored garments. This saffron dress is practically a passport for the mendicant and sannyasis to go anywhere. The sannyasi's duty is to enlighten people in Krishna consciousness. Those in the renounced order of life have no other business but preaching the glories and supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Vedic sociological conception is that a sannyasi should not be restricted. He is allowed to go anywhere and everywhere he wants, and he is not refused any gift he might demand from a householder. The four Kumaras came to see the Supreme Lord, Narayan. The word Suhritama, best of all friends, is important. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, he is the best friend of all living entities. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. No one can be a greater well-wishing friend to any living entity than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is so kindly disposed towards everyone that in spite of our completely forgetting our relationship with the Supreme Lord, he comes himself, sometimes personally, as Lord Krishna appeared on the earth, and sometimes as his devotee, as did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And sometimes he sends his bona fide devotees to reclaim all the fallen souls. Therefore, he is the greatest well-wishing friend of everyone. And four Kumaras wanted to see him. The doorkeepers should have known that the four sages had no other business, and therefore to restrict them from entering the palace was not apt. So the four Kumaras, they just wanted to see the Lord. They don't wanted to have the darshan of the Lord. But they were stopped by Jay and Vijay. And these boys, they got really angry. In this verse, it is figuratively stated that the younger brother of desire suddenly appeared in a person when the sages were forbidden to see the most beloved personality of Godhead. The younger brother of desire is anger. If one's desire is not fulfilled, the younger brother, anger, follows. Here we can mark that even the great saintly persons like the Kumaras were also angry. But they were not angry for their personal interests. They were angry because they were forbidden to enter the palace to see the personality of Godhead. Therefore, the theory that in the perfectional stage one should not have anger is not supported in this verse. Anger will continue even in the liberated stage. Anger will continue even in the liberated stage. It doesn't say that if somebody becomes perfect or liberated, he cannot become angry. He does not become angry for their personal reasons, for their personal sense gratification, but for the service of the Lord, to protect a devotee of the Lord, they can get angry. Perfection state doesn't mean we become emotionless or we become rocks. No emotions at all. Anger is one of the emotions, but that anger can also be used in the service of the Lord. Like Prabhupada has always given example of Hanumanji and Arjun. Hanumanji got angry with Ravan and he burned down the whole Lanka. And Arjun was angry at Duryodhan and party, and he, after listening to Bhagavad Gita, he killed them all. So anger can also be used in service of the Lord. And a liberated person, a perfect person can also become angry. Just like these four Kumaras, they were liberated, they were self-realized sages, but still they became angry. These four mendicant brothers like Kumaras, but they're considered liberated persons, but still they were angry because they were restricted in their service to the Lord. The difference between the anger of an ordinary person and that of a liberated person is that an ordinary person becomes angry because his sense desires are not being fulfilled, whereas a liberated person like the Kumaras becomes angry when restricted in the discharge of duties for serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the cause of anger is different. In the previous verse, it has been clearly mentioned that the Kumaras were liberated persons. Viditatma Tattva means one who understands the truth of self-realization. One who does not understand the truth of self-realization is called ignorant. But one who understands the self, the super self, the interrelation and activities in self-realization is called Viditatma Tattva. Although the Kumaras were already liberated persons, they nevertheless became angry. Even though they were liberated, they were self-realized sages, they still became angry. This point is very important. Becoming liberated does not necessitate losing one's sensual activities. Sense activities continue even in the liberated stage. The difference is, however, that sense activities in liberation are accepted only in connection with Krishna consciousness, whereas sense activities in the conditioned stage are enacted for personal sense gratification. So this also negates all the Mayavad concept that after liberation, after perfection, we just merge in Brahm Jyoti and we lose our individuality, lose our identity. It's never going to happen. Even in liberated stage, one can get angry. One will have all the senses working, but they would be working properly, perfectly. Text 32. Munya uchu kovami hetya bhagvat paricharya yoche tadharmina vasitam vishama svabhava tasmin prashant purushe gatvigrahe vam kovatmavat kuhukayo parishankaniya. The sages said, who are these two persons who have developed such a discordant mentality, even though they are posted in the service of the Lord in the highest position and are expected to have developed the same qualities as the Lord? How are these two persons living in Vaikuntha? Where is the possibility of an enemies coming into this kingdom of God? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no enemy. Who could be envious of him? Probably these two persons are impostors. Therefore, they suspect others to be like themselves. The difference between the inhabitants of a Vaikuntha planet and those of a material planet is that in Vaikuntha, all the residents engage in the service of the Lord himself and are equipped with all his good qualities. It has been analyzed by great personalities that when a conditioned soul is liberated and becomes a devotee, about 79% of all the good qualities of the Lord develop in that person. It has been analyzed by great personalities that when a conditioned soul is liberated and becomes a devotee, about 79% of all the good qualities of the Lord develop in this person. So where is this 79% number coming from? Well, the Lord has 64 qualities, right? In Vaikuntha world, the expansions of the Lord, they have 60 qualities. Lord Shiva has 55 qualities. And Lord Brahma, who is the most perfect being, he has 50 qualities. So a jiva, a living entity, can only be purified up to the level of Lord Brahma. Means he can have only 50 qualities, even that to not to perfect degree, not to 100%. So that 50 qualities out of 64 becomes 79%. Lord Shiva has 55 qualities. So we should always respect the position of Lord Shiva. Therefore, in Vaikuntha world, there is no question of enmity between the Lord and the residents. Here in this material world, the citizens may be inimical to the chief executive or heads of state. But in Vaikuntha, there is no such mentality. Because there is all love. There is no question of being a servant and the master, like in material world. The position is there of a servant, but it's out of love. And master is not like a tyrannical master. He's there for caring and compassion and love, actually, for his servants, for his associates. One is not allowed to enter Vaikuntha unless he has completely developed the good qualities. The basic principle of goodness is to accept doormen, accept subordination to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the basic principle of goodness is to accept subordination to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And subordination to the Supreme Personality of Godhead means to follow his instructions. The sages therefore were surprised to see that the two doormen who checked them from entering the palace were not exactly like the residents of Vaikuntha Loka. It may be said that the doorman's duty is to determine who should be allowed to enter the palace and who should not. But that is not relevant in this matter because no one is allowed to enter the Vaikuntha planets unless he has developed 100% his mentality of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. No enemy of the Lord can enter Vaikuntha Loka. The Kumaras concluded that the only reason for the doormen checking them was that the doormen themselves were impostors, means they were not qualified to be it in Vaikuntha Loka. But the strange thing is, there are no enemies in Vaikuntha Loka, obviously. Everybody is living there to serve lovingly the Supreme Lord, but then what is the need for the door and the doorman there? So what are the doormen there for anyway? But they are there just to serve the Lord, not to stop people from entering. Nahi antaram bhagvatiha samasta kuksha vatmanatmani nabho nabhasiva dhira Pashyanti yatra yavyo suralingina lingino kim vyatpaditam hi udar bhedi bhayam yatvasya. In the Vaikuntha world, there is a complete harmony between the residents and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as there is complete harmony within space between the big and the small skies. Why then is there a seed of fear in this field of harmony? These two persons are dressed like inhabitants of Vaikuntha, but where from can the disharmony and come into existence? So there should be complete harmony. There should not be any enviousness or any kind of discord or fear in Vaikuntha. Just as there are different departments in each state in this material world, the civil department and the criminal department, so in God's creation, there are two departments of existence. As in the material world, we find that the criminal department is far, far smaller than the civil department. So this material world, which is considered the criminal department, is 1/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. All living entities who are residents of the material universes are considered to be more or less criminals because they do not wish to abide by the order of the Lord, or they are against the harmonious activities of God's will. The principle of creation is that the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is by nature joyful, and he becomes many in order to enhance his transcendental joy. The living entities, like ourselves, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, are meant to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Thus, whenever there is a discrepancy in that harmony, immediately the living entity is entrapped by Maya or illusion. So there cannot be any discord, any enviousness, any fighting, any differences in the Vaikuntha world. So looking at it conversely, if we have those qualities or those attitudes or those issues or problems, then we are not fit to go back to the Vaikuntha world right now. We still have to work a little bit more on our qualities. The external energy of the Lord is called the material world, and the kingdom of the internal energy of the Lord is called Vaikuntha, or the kingdom of God. In the Vaikuntha world, there is no disharmony between the Lord and the residents. Therefore, God's creation in the Vaikuntha world is perfect. There is no cause of fear. The entire kingdom of God is such a completely harmonious unit that there is no possibility of enmity. And can we imagine a place, no enmity, no fighting, no discord, no bad feelings, no ill feelings, no negativity at all? That place also exists. And we came from that place. And all we have to do is develop these good qualities so we get eligible to go back to that place. Everything there is absolute, just as there are many physiological constructions within the body, yet they work in one order for the satisfaction of the stomach. And just as in a machine there are hundreds and thousands of parts, yet they run in harmony to fulfill the function of the machine. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord is perfect, and the inhabitants also perfectly engage in the service of the Lord. The Prabhupada gave two examples. One is about the body. We have many organs in our body, but every single organ is working to satisfy the stomach. Why? Because from stomach, the energy goes to each and every part of the body as it is budgeted. Whatever the budget is, and that budget is allocated to that particular organ. And just like for a machine, there are hundreds and thousands of parts, yet they all work together to fulfill the function of the machine, to make whatever part it is supposed to make. Or just like in a computer, there are so many parts in a computer, but everything works harmoniously to make the computer do what it is supposed to do. So similarly, in Vaikuntha planet, everybody is there to do, everybody is there just for one and one only function, to serve the Supreme Lord. That's all. The Mayavadi philosophers, the impersonalists, interpret this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam to mean that the small sky and the big sky are one, but this idea cannot stand. The example of the big sky and the small skies is also applicable within a person's body. The big sky is the body itself, and the intestines and other parts of the body occupy the small sky. Each and every part of the body has individuality, even though occupying a small part of the total body. Similarly, the whole creation is the body of the Supreme Lord, and we created beings, or anything that is created, are but a small part of that body. The parts of the body are never equal to the whole. This is never possible. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the living entities, who are part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are eternally parts and parcels. According to Mayavadi philosophers, living entity in illusion considers himself part and parcel, although he is actually one and the same as the Supreme Whole. This philosophy is not valid. So the Vaishnava philosophy says living entities are part and parcel eternally. Sanatana. They are my part and parcel eternally. Now and always, after liberation also. But the Mayavadis say now we are part and parcel, but after we get liberated, we become one. But we never become one with the Supreme. I mean, not in the terms of individuality. We become one in the Supreme in terms of our desire to serve Him. There is no difference then. But we don't lose our individuality, even in the Vaikuntha world. Just like it is evident from the position of Jay and Vijay. Jay and Vijay, they do not become the Lord. They remain the servant of the Lord. And similarly, all of the residents of Vaikuntha Loka, they are all there to serve the Lord. There is no cause for the politics of divide and rule in the Vaikuntha planets. There is no fear because of the united interests of the Lord and the residents. Maya means disharmony between the living entities and the Supreme Lord. And Vaikuntha means harmony between them. Actually, all living entities are provided for and maintained by the Lord because He is the supreme living entity. But foolish creatures, although actually under the control of the supreme living entity, defy His existence, and that state is called Maya. Sometimes they deny that there is such a being as God. They say everything is void. And sometimes they deny Him in a different way. There may be a God, but He has no form. Both these conceptions arise from the rebellious condition of the living entity. So harmony or disharmony is realized because of the law and order of a particular place. Religion is the law and order of the Supreme Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we find that religion means devotional service or Krishna consciousness. Krishna says, give up all other religious principles and simply become a soul surrendered unto me. This is real religion. This is real religion, actually. When one is fully conscious that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and supreme Lord, and one acts accordingly, that is real religion. Anything which goes against this principle is not religion. Krishna therefore says, just give up all other religious principles. In the spiritual world, this religious principle of Krishna consciousness is maintained in harmony, and therefore that world is called Vaikuntha. If the same principles can be adopted here, wholly or partially, then it's also Vaikuntha. So it is with any society, such as International Society for Krishna Consciousness. If the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, putting faith in Krishna as the center, live in harmony according to the order and principles of Bhagavad Gita, then they are living in Vaikuntha, not in this material world. Yeah. So the temples, Prabhupada said, these are temples, are the embassies of the spiritual world. They're the embassies of Vaikuntha. Embassies there, embassy means that place is non-different from Vaikuntha. The Lord, the Supreme Lord is there, Radha Parsarthi or Radha Madhav or Radha Shyam Sundar or whichever deities. So the part, representation of part of Vaikuntha is there, the Supreme Lord is there. Only thing is, we are not there. We might be going to Vaikuntha, but we are coming out at the same time. Because we are not eligible. Even though there could be devotees living in Vaikuntha, but if the consciousness is not Vaikuntha consciousness or Krishna consciousness, then we are not in Vaikuntha. Then even though we are living in Vaikuntha, we are still in the material world. So only requirement is to purify ourselves, make best use of being in that place, in the Vaikuntha place, and make ourselves eligible. Not engage in divide and rule policy. But we should engage ourselves in service of the Lord, service of the devotees of the Lord. That's all is needed. So I guess I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in this, the text which we read today, you mentioned about the qualities of Lord. So different qualities you have described about Lord Shiva and then Brahma and Lord, I think you said 66 or something. But there is a place, I mean, in this
64.
verses 64, yeah, and somewhere it's mentioned 79 or something, 76. What is that? Is that an expansion?
79%. This is
Okay,
79%.
so 79% the person, I mean the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, the people who are there in Vaikuntha, they should have the 79% the qualities.
Until we have 79% qualities, we cannot reach Vaikuntha.
Okay. That's quite a big figure, actually.
Well, that's a 50. The number of qualities of 50. That comes out to 79%. It doesn't say 79% purification. It says 79% of the good qualities of the Lord. It's a high number, yes, but we got to work on it.
Yeah.
And just imagine, we all had those qualities when we fell down from the Vaikuntha planet or from spiritual world. We had those qualities. Just we have forgotten.
So Prabhuji, what's the reason if somebody is in Vaikuntha already and he has fallen? So I mean, like it's mentioned in these verses that whosoever the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, they have all these qualities. So how come they deviate from these qualities and fall? Because this is their.
Well, that's a thing. That question is never answered anywhere. So far, I haven't studied. How did we develop? Oh, how did we fall down? But we did fall down, that's for sure. So only thing we can try is now to get back instead of trying to figure out why did I fall down. Did somebody push me? Did something happen or what happened? The thing is now we are fallen, that's for sure. So we try to get back.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Yes, Rajiv Prabhu, you have something to say?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, a question
Hare.
from yesterday's discussion that uh, to reach at a highest planet, it takes 14,000 years at a speed of the light speed. So if some soul is passing away, so speed of that soul reaching to the highest planet is faster than the speed of the light? Because I'm sure it will not take 14,000 years to reach there.
That is mentioned for any mechanical arrangement. If we want to go to Brahmaloka. But when the Vishnu Dutas come with the aeroplane from Vaikuntha Loka, they go much higher, faster. I believe they go with the speed of mind, not the speed of light.
Okay, speed of the point. And probably one more question here. So that means, let us say there's a mechanical way of going there. So there is a way to reach in a physical form also in those lokas. Maybe it's taking 14,000 years. That's a different issue, but uh, it's not that spiritually we can reach there. There is a way to reach in a physical form also. Is that correct?
Yeah, that Prabhupada has explained in his book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Urdhvam gachanti sattvastho. So those who are in mode of goodness, they go to higher planets. So we have to develop that mode of goodness to reach other higher planets. So next life we can be there.
My question was probably from physical perspective. Like Yudhishthir, when he leaves his body, he travel in a physical form there. Like we are going to moon. That's a physical form.
Okay, so taking birth there is not physical enough. So you mean in this lifetime only?
In this lifetime, yeah.
So for that, before Kali Yuga, it was possible. Like Arjun also went to heavenly planets to get all those weapons.
Yeah.
So in those ages, yes, it was possible. Interplanetary travel was possible. Prabhupada has mentioned that, but not in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, only maybe some exceptions might be there. But the yogis, they do travel. I mean, the sages travel. Just like we are reading in Parikshit Maharaj's case, when Parikshit Maharaj sat down to listen to Bhagavatam, the sages from other planets, they came and they were all sitting down together to listen to Bhagavatam. So it is possible, but
yeah,
not practical right now for us.
Yeah, got it, Prabhuji. Yeah, got it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Any other question or comment? I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank